Hi, AMI Day 15. Today we're going to be looking at the topics of race and identity. Remember, race is just one part of a person's identity. It's Susie Phipps, whom we should have read about yesterday, considered it so important that she spent $20,000 trying to change the way Louisiana determined her race. So today we want to think about what is race. So what does Phipps's legal battle suggest about its importance in the United States in the 1970s? How important is your race to your identity? Today might be a difficult day because often race is one of those big topics that's really hard for people to discuss and to think about. So I'm going to encourage open-mindedness today and really thoughtful introspection. I think will be really important for us. In 1997, the American Anthropological Association wrote a statement on race. Physical variations in the human species have no meaning except the social meanings that humans put on them. Today, scholars in many fields argue that race, as it is understood in the USA, was a social mechanism invented during the 18th century to refer to those populations brought together in colonial America. The English and other European settlers, the conquered Indian peoples, and those peoples of Africa brought to provide slave labor. The report notes in the early 1800s, slaveholders justified slavery by magnifying differences among Europeans, Africans, and American Indians, and insisting that those differences were God-given. A number of scientists incorporated those mistaken notions about human differences into their research. Eventually, these myths about race spread to other areas of the world, where they became a strategy for dividing, ranking, and controlling colonized people. But racist thinking was not limited to the colonial situation. This report goes on to say, in the latter part of the 19th century, race was employed by Europeans to rank one another and to justify social, economic, and political inequalities among their peoples. During World War II, the Nazis under Adolf Hitler enjoined the expanded ideology of race and racial differences and took them to a logical end, the extermination of 11 million people of inferior races and other unspeakable brutalities of the Holocaust. Race thus evolved as a worldview, a body of prejudgments that distorts our ideas about human differences and group behavior. Racial myths bear no relationship to the reality of human capabilities or behavior. Scientists today find that reliance on such folk beliefs about human difference in research has led to countless errors. In short, race is skin deep. Yet, writes anthropologist Jared Diamond, most people regard the existence of race as obvious, a matter of common sense, even though science often violates simple common sense. He explains, her eyes tell us that the earth is flat, that the sun revolves around the earth, and that we humans are not animals. But we now ignore that evidence of our senses. We have learned that our planet is in fact round and revolves around the sun, and that humans are slightly modified chimpanzees. The reality of human races is another common sense truth destined to follow the flat earth into oblivion. So for today's activities, I'd like you to go in order down the page, right? So our step number one, you'll click in to join a Padlet. It's a shared Padlet, and we're gonna just put some ideas or images or words or phrases that come to mind for you when you hear the word race. Be aware it is a moderated Padlet board, so I'll see everything before it goes live. So don't think your post has just disappeared if it goes off your screen once you submit it. Then we're actually going to look at some official definitions of race, things that you'll find in dictionaries. And we'll see if that adds to your understanding, detracts from it, right? Whatever your experience is valid. Our next step will actually be to listen to a children's book. Maybe it's been a while, unless you have younger siblings that you look after, for you to have seen a children's book. This one is prepared by a man named Julius Lester, titled Let's Talk About Race. So we're going to use a YouTube link for that. The reading is quite good, actually. Okay, so give that a go, and you can see the illustrations that way too. And I want you to think about what lesson the author wants his young readers to get from this text. Okay, it is intended for young readers, but it's valid for us as well. And our last stop for the day is an excerpt from Sandra Cisneros' novel House on Mango Street. So some of you may have read this, probably around middle school-ish, or maybe 7th or 8th grade. But our excerpt is narrated by our main character, a young girl named Esperanza. And she is thinking about how folks in her neighborhood are defined by outsiders, as well as how people within her neighborhood define people who are not of their neighborhood. So, best of luck with today, and I'll see you with new stuff next week.